Yeah. Ready?
Welcome to another episode of the True Beast Podcast, brought to you by XDOG.com, where you can find the world's greatest fitness and health enhancement harness for dogs, the XDOG Fitness Vest. Exercising your dog has never been easier, more convenient, and effective than with the XDOG Fitness Vest. Be sure to check out XDOG.com if you want to take your dog's health to the next level. And today, we got a very special guest by the name of William Garrido.
Yes,
And he's a professional dog trainer. And I'll let him, go ahead and tell us a little bit about what got you into dog training, man.
Well, I started back when I was about 27, something like that.
How old are you now?
38.
Okay.
Yeah, I just turned 38.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're youngin'.
Yeah, it was like 20. I was in my mid-20s, I think 25, something like that. And what happened was I was in the Coast Guard.
Okay.
And I was in a 6-year enlistment, and when you're in a government job like that, especially the Coast Guard, the other branches of the military, you can retire at 20.
Okay.
At 20 years, you do an enlistment for 20 years, you can retire.
Gotcha.
So 6 years for a lot of enlisted people is sort of a very important mark, because you go, if I re-enlist for another 4, that takes me to 10 years.
Okay.
And if you do 10 years, you might as well do another 10 years and then you retire. So a lot of enlisted people kind of go through that stage, because the enlistments, you can re-enlist for 4 years or 6 years, right?
Yeah.
It's not like I'm gonna just keep working. I'm gonna put my 2 weeks whenever I'm ready to leave. It's like you put a 4-year enlistment or a 6-year enlistment, so it's like a big commitment, right? So at the end of my 6-year enlistment was coming up.
Okay.
And then I was weighing my options. Do I do another 4 years? If I do another 4 years, I'm halfway there.
Yeah.
Get out of retirement check for the rest of my life, right? Or do I do something else? And that's where that nagging sensation, that nagging voice started creeping in. And it was like, well, maybe you're young enough, you can do something else.
Yeah.
And dog training was just one of those things that felt good, because I trained my own dog. Excuse me. I trained a pet dog at the time. It's my own dog, right?
Yeah.
And I found the process of learning and going through the troubleshooting process with my own dog. I found it very appealing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? This seems like it's something that would be fun to do on a regular basis. So I started to explore that option. I did my research, and that's sort of how my career took off.
Yeah. Okay. So dog training, the whole dog psychology kind of, influenced you and inspired you when you came to troubleshooting. What kind of dog did you have at the time?
It was just a rescue dog. It's just a rescue dog.
People say that though. It's just a rescue dog. But you're right.
That could be why he had so much trouble.
Right.
That's all the reason he was troubleshooting, which makes businesses great. So he was trouble with this dog who was probably manic in a sense. And,
yes.
Destructive and so many other things. He said, I had to learn a lot to manage the quality of this dog's life. Otherwise, it was going back to that rescue.
Yes, absolutely. It was one of those dogs that, sweet dog, but she would chase anything that she saw. So, and at the time, I'm in my mid-20s, early 20s, so I'm like, well, I could pay a dog trainer, but I wanted to DIY it, save a little bit of money, and then that process of DIYing it, troubleshooting, learning, that became a little bit of a journey that sort of got me started into what I do now.
Well, see, back in the day, do it yourself was kind of one of those things, and now, like me and Trevor always talk about all the time, man, get yourself mentors. Especially with social media and things right now. There's so many dog trainers available, at your hands. And to be able to troubleshoot, is important. We talk about it in business all the time. You're a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
Canis Fortis, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, that's a PSA club, or is that your actually training facility? Or?
It's the name of the business is Canis Fortis Dog Company.
Uh-huh.
And originally, the reason I started that was because I had a protection club, right? I've had a protection club for a few years now, and I wanted it to be insured, because liability issues.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to be covered. So the insurance company said, well, we'll insure your club, but you need to have an LLC. So that's sort of how Canis Fortis Dog Company became, started, because of the club.
That makes a lot of sense, and that's some game right there. For those who out there who are trying to start a training business, right? It's probably super important to definitely, you know, want to get your LLC. That way you can get insured, because I'm sure, I mean, decoying, dog training, it's dangerous, right? It can be dangerous.
It's dangerous, but also when everybody will be your friend until money's on the table. You know, everybody will, like, your best friend will like give you the crazy eyes if they feel like somehow they lost out on something and they feel like it was your fault. Friendship gone. So I want to be covered.
Those are the best ways to end friendships, though.
Oh yeah,
is when you
get to see
about their character.
Oh yeah.
You know, when I first got over here, you know, I've been at this game for like 18 years, but I never really managed people, you know, and we grew to the point when we launched the vest where we had to scale up, and I was like, oh shit, we need some help, right?
Yeah.
And I started hiring friends, right? And hiring people that I knew. Fucking big mistake. Big mistake, you know, because it's like, it's kind of like what they said, man, with Kobe. You wasn't shooting with me when I was in the gym, right? Like, you know, when his wife got him for the divorce, or when he got caught up, and Rick Ross is like, hey, you wasn't with me shooting in the gym, you know? Like, there was a lot of years prior to that, and it's kind of weird how people's expectations, but they believe like they deserve what you have without putting in all the sacrifice that is involved. And people forget sacrifice big time, you know, especially in the game of life.
Yeah, very much so.
So... The name, where did it derive from? As far as what made you come up with that specific name?
Well, you know, there's really not a whole lot of thought put into it.
Yeah.
It was just more like, all right, let's come up with some names. And it was my wife and I that, you know, we came up with the name. But we were like, all right, I don't know, that sounds too long. No, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
And it kind of sport is just kind of something that we kind of came up with. And
it's simple.
It stuck.
Yeah, it's simple. I think a lot of people make things super complicated. Me and my business partner Steve, we always talk about some URLs that we always see people's names of the URLs they have. It's like 7 words long, or emails, right? You know, John at thefitnessclubawarenessgym.com. You know, like, what the hell, man? You know, it's so long. Where, you know, like, we came in when we had purchased XDOG.com. We spent 10 bands for that, you know, like, but we knew the importance of the shorter URL and the simplicity of it, you know.
And it sticks, you know, like, you hear it, an instant brand recognition everywhere you go. You hear XDOG and like, oh yeah, it's that company.
Apple, Nike, Amazon.
Short and sweet.
Yeah, short and sweet.
Sweet's the key word.
Yeah. So you are publisher. This is what really inspires me, because I always want to write a book, right? Like, and so, which was the first book that you written out of these 4?
The very first one is Common Myths About Dogs.
Okay,
it's a very, very short read.
Let's talk about this. So, what inspires you to write Common Myths About Dogs?
Yeah, so, of course. So at the time, I was working for Star Mark Academy. It's a big dog training school in the Austin area, and I was an instructor there. And, you know, over the years working with pet clients, pet owners, dog students, you know, dog training students, I noticed that these common myths just kept popping up. You know, things like, for instance, like playing tug, you know, a very common one, right? If you play tug with a dog, it'll make him aggressive.
Really?
We know that's a myth.
Yeah.
And the average dog trainer, the average savvy dog owner knows this, that it's not true, right?
Yeah.
But your average pet owner doesn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've even seen toys in a pet store, a tug toy, that there was a warning in the back. This was years ago. I remember seeing it. I couldn't believe it. And it said, warning, playing too much tug with your dog can cause aggression.
Yeah.
And, you know, so there was a bunch of little myths like that just kept creeping up.
Let's go back to that. What's the facts behind the game of tug with dogs? It kind of educate some of the people on here.
Yeah.
Like, what's the true myth? Because I play tug with my dog, but I also know how to out them, right? And understand, like, you know, I know the difference between the game, but not everybody else does.
Of course. So, like, you know, I would say if I was a dog owner who didn't know, right, who didn't understand, and I have a dog that is possessive, and it's a dog that it's maybe too possessive. Plus, on top of that, there aren't enough boundaries. In my relationship with my dog, and I don't know any better. So what will happen is I'll get a tug, I'll play tug with my dog, and then this game will bring his possessiveness and his ugly side to surface.
Yeah. It's like play fighting with a friend and then you get hit in your mouth and all of a sudden you're fighting for real.
This is why he doesn't mess around with a lot of girls anymore, because all of his exes.
I'm a free slave, as I always say. Are you gonna be in a relationship? No.
But so it's more of a possession game, not an aggressive game, right?
Yeah. So what happens in that hypothetical scenario? I surface the the ugly side of my dog, and then I will probably blame it on the game of tug.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll be like, oh, it's because I played tug. That's why my dog became aggressive. When in fact, my dog was possessive and probably, a little bit ugly to begin with. I just had never seen it until I played tug.
Yeah.
But it's not that playing tug caused it. It just brought to surface the relationship issue that we have.
Yeah, and it always goes back to the agreements, like people, you have a family, right? Mm-hmm. The agreements with that dog with you might be a different agreement with your kids, right?
Exactly. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so it makes total sense. So what other myths are we talking about here? Because a myth that I had actually did a post on was the myth of you can't feed raw with kibble, right? And just understanding the difference that really it's just a biological value difference. That kibble's going to be burnt slower than a body than something like than a raw food, right? Yeah. But the raw feeding community is like, you can't feed both. It's going to mess up the digestive system. But here's 7 different protein sources, right? And they don't talk about all the disasters that could happen by feeding your dog raw incorrectly. Yeah. And that can also cause digestive issues, And so it's just kind of crazy. And then you got the myth that, for example, a lot of veterinarian clinics say, you shouldn't feed raw, because... Mm-hmm. But they said, because we're owned by some of these big companies like Mars and Nestle, and they pay us not to tell you this, Yeah. And so it's kind of crazy, man. So it's cool that, I think like with platforms like this, having educational books like this that are very simple to read and just very clear, it's going to change the game in 10 years,
Yeah. That was sort of the purpose. Other common myths like, the neutering thing, right?
Yeah.
You neuter a dog, it'll suddenly just calm down and it will, all the aggression will go away. When in fact, I have seen the opposite happen.
Or they say if you neuter them too early,
that's why it happens is because the thyroid and that all those that system that helps them regulate and manage, basically their growth. It gets out of whack, man. It turns into a psychopath sometimes.
Oh, I've seen it. I've had clients that their vets recommended, you got to neuter him because he's getting a little bit older. They do that, or even with females too, they do that, and then now the dogs are like just insane, crazy, more aggressive. And I've had clients that have had that happen to them, but veterinarians still recommend it all the time for aggression, for behavior issues. I mean, I understand if they're recommending it for reproductive reasons.
Yes.
But when a veterinarian recommends constantly, he's jumping a little bit too much, you should neuter him because that'll make him better. That's a myth.
Look, when a human being gets sick, it don't stop him from helping. Point blank. He's still.
What he said? What did Michael Scott say? The toll it takes on a man to get 3 vasectomies?
Snip, snap, snip.
We've all been there before. Oh man, but it makes total sense. So there's a lot of myths out there, guys. So it's like another thing I always talk about. Sometimes when we first launched a dog food, they're like, "Was it veterinarian formulated?" I'm like, no, it's PhD nutritionist formulated. The people
don't make food.
Yeah, they don't make food. They only have 2 years of education behind when it comes to nutrition. So when you go in there, I don't ever go into the veterinarian looking for nutritional advice.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
Let's say this. What are some things people should know when looking for a dog trainer? The market is saturated, just like personal training and so many other things. But unfortunately, when people buy dogs, I breed as well, and people don't know what to ask breeders. Then you're stuck with this dog that might cost you more than you pay for in terms of health, especially if we're talking about certain bulldogs and whatnot. But, I think there's a way to manage your money by knowing what to ask. When I used to work with a lot of athletes, I'd say, hey, well, why doesn't he know this and that? Somebody walk up a kid right to the weights, but the kid can't do 10 push-ups. It's like all he's got on the football field about is his fucking body. He needs to learn functionality before we even get into the weight development. So what are some things people should know when looking for a dog trainer and things they should be wary of?
That's a tough one. I actually wrote a book on that too.
Oh shit.
One of my most recent books was on that very topic.
Oh, here it is right here. Selecting the right dog trainer. You can catch this on Amazon as well. This is where we got ours.
So that's the latest book I wrote recently. So I think I just released it last year now, 2021. But that's another thing. I'm surrounded by dog trainers. I have a protection club, so I've worked with clients and club members who are dog trainers. Mm-hmm. I have clients who are dog trainers that come to me for dog training advice. Come to me, with their dogs. Just like you said earlier, we all need mentors.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
It doesn't matter what stage you're in.
Yep.
Mentors are always helpful. But I've also had the misfortune to run into very unethical dog trainers. Incompetence is a phase of learning. Mm-hmm. That's understandable. At some point I was incompetent. So that's not necessarily a huge deal, because even an incompetent trainer knows more than your average incompetent dog owner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So even like if you're a dog trainer and you're in year 1, you only have 1 year of experience, you probably have more experience than your average dog owner who doesn't know anything.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So you can still help somebody out. But the problem is when you have unethical dog trainers, because it doesn't matter how much experience you have. I've seen people that have been training dogs for...
There was an incident the other day. I'm not going to bring not bringing the individual's name up, but I sent it to you, and this guy was I guess he was highly respected. He had a bunch of celebrity clients, and it's like, holy shit, like, I don't know, man, like, I can't be around that type of shit. I don't care. We fighting on the spot, like, you know what I mean? That was a terrible incident. Yeah.
So as far as some of the red flags, to me at least, one of the things that I noticed. One of the things that I have noticed, because I've worked with a lot of dog trainers too, I taught at a dog training school.
Yeah.
Right. So, I've been around a lot of dog trainers, and one of the things that I noticed that are red flags is if you're talking to a dog trainer, right? If you're a client, you're talking to a dog trainer, maybe you're asking some questions about training for your dog. To me, one red flag is if they show lack of patience with you. If they show
you as an individual?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. To me, I've noticed that there's a correlation. I've seen people that are short and have little patience, to like answer your questions, right? Like even something simple. If they're showing lack of patience with another person of the same species that they can talk to and rationalize with, what's that going to tell you about their patience with a dog that they can't talk to and rationalize with?
Yeah.
I have seen it. I've seen people that are, that don't have a lot of patience. They're kind of rude with people.
Yeah.
And I've seen them work with dogs. It almost is like the same type of relationship that they have. Like they have like,
it does.
And that's not to say that that's always the case. Like I've also seen some people that are not good with people, that are very short with people, but they're very compassionate with dogs.
Yeah.
But in general, at least that's one of the red flags that I noticed. So like if you're a dog owner and you're talking to 3 dog trainers, and one of them tells you, I've been doing this for 10 years, 15 years, whatever, but like they constantly are shutting you off. They're constantly cutting you off. They're like making you feel like you're insignificant.
Yes.
That to me, that's not good, because then even if you do a good job with my dog, if I have a question, how are you going to help me with this if you don't even have patience with me, in the beginning?
Yeah. And I think that's super important. That's one of the things. There's a couple things that I try to teach our staff here is, one, we go the extra mile, right? Like, so for example, let's say somebody comes in, they get the wrong phone number, right? And they call us and they ask us something, let's say it has something to do with like a floral company, for example, right? But we don't sell flowers. Mm-hmm. But, I teach our staff, hey, listen, man, we don't sell flowers. We're actually a dog company, but let me look up a couple different flower companies around here for you, and then I'll send you some information. And people will be surprised, man. Like, individuals go, oh, shit, you helped me out. You want to go that? What's the name of your company again?
Right.
And like they don't understand, like, how important that is, man, to do that. I even got stressed out to a point, I think it was like 3 years ago, where I was trying to reach everybody and message everybody back on social media, which is virtually impossible when you have like 200 messages a day, you know? And I was like, shit, I need some help here. So I was able to get some good help and stuff like that. So I think, like you said, man, you probably need to get out there and do your research, just like with everything else. And before you jump into a trainer or a training program, make sure you do some due diligence and just research the individuals and get some references, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, that reference that definitely help. You know, I have a number of clients that if somebody said, hey, do you have anybody that I can get some references from, somebody who has experience with you, I don't have a problem with, like, I have these people, and they can tell you.
Yeah.
So
let's go into this other books, right? Which one did you write next, as far as like?
The first one I wrote was Common Myths.
Okay.
That was the very first one, and I just compiled a bunch of myths, and this one was also the scariest to write.
Why is that? First one?
First one, and the reason it was the scariest, it was because I was kind of putting it out there. Like it was being published now. Like once I hit enter, it's out there.
Did you get a lot of people judging you when you started putting products out like this?
Not a whole lot, actually.
Yeah.
Not terribly. I mean, there's always some critics. Bad. Yeah, and I'm used to it. I'm okay with it. I don't have a problem with it. But after that one, then the next one I wrote was Dog Info Every Dog Trainer Should Know. Yeah. So that's the next one I wrote, and what that is actually, that's a compilation of a bunch of articles I've written through the years in blogs, newspaper articles. And I still had them, so I was like, this is all decent information, and I want to put it on print. Yeah. So I just compiled it, put it together, revised it a little bit, and I published that one. So that one was easier to write because I was just putting it together, and it was already the second book. See, there's one thing that really stands out on the front cover, and that's the words "avoiding burnout." Someone like Trevor who grinds, and staff grinds. I mean, they get a few hours of sleep. Someone like me who's always, I went through spells during this journey where I got burnt out, So what are some of the common things that happen with burnout with training dogs? Is it very similar, I guess? I noticed it with dog trainers because, I went to 2 dog training schools. So I have colleagues, I have friends who have been in a very similar dog training journey as I have. Yeah. And, and like I said, I've also taught a lot of people how to become dog trainers, and I've seen them launch their careers, become dog trainers. And one common theme that I noticed a lot is that a lot of people get burnt out. They do really well for about a year, 2 years, and then they do something else. Yeah. Like in one of my dog training classes, dog training schools that I went to Starmark. I was there as a student as well. We had probably like 38 students in my class. Uh-huh. And, I sort of kept up with, following everybody, right, for a while, and then I noticed that everybody started to kind of fade away, and then it was down to maybe three or four of us that are still training dogs out of 37.
What's the next step? I know in the personal training space, if you even go to down the road of, for instance, people who go and get a degree in kinesiology, there's no job for kinesiology, and even after you spend, K-State, for instance, I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, has one of the best kinesiology programs in the country. Mm-hmm. So after you give K-State $40,000 to go to their school, you still got to pay $700 for a NASM certification. And then if you go to a 24-hour model, you can only get up as a master trainer to maybe $30 a session while they're robbing you or getting your money. But what's the next step? Because I tell people all the time, the world don't need another gym or another personal trainer. So when you look at the dog business or the training side, where do they take this whole thing as far as top tier? Because there's from a Cesar Millan standpoint, it just means someone who's capitalized on the media side. He's leveraged his being in some regard and scaled all the way up to be in front of millions, if not masses. Where does the every average day dog trainer, after they train 1,000 dogs, let's say you train 10,000 dogs at $1,000 a dog, that's some decent money. But then what do you do next?
And kind of going back to the topic of burnout too, and to address your question too, I'm looking at my own journey. I've only been doing it for 12 years. Yeah, right?
That's a long time still.
It is a long time for sure. I myself like to think in a sort of a large perspective. I don't think I don't think in terms of 5 years at a time. I'm thinking like way ahead, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Military in you, huh? You're like, I did a 4, 6, and
right. I'm thinking more like legacy. Like I want to leave. I personally want to leave something that will outlive me. Even if it's not something that I created, I want to contribute to something that is bigger than me. But for the average dog trainer, it's just your average person that goes, I want to train dogs. And I think one of the reasons that burnout happens is they go full throttle, which I'm a full throttle type of person myself.
Yeah.
Like I'll go until I burn out, and then I'll probably sleep for 2 days and then I'll go again. Right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people that I'm friends with, they're not like that. They're more like, they just want to make a good living. And some of the things that I noticed that work for me too is hobbies.
Yeah.
Like do something outside of your main mission that sort of distracts you temporarily, even if it's like a couple of times a week.
Yeah.
Something to look forward to. I think having those little strategies like that keep you centered and keep you fresh. That's just one of the things that work for me, and that's sort of the advice that I give people is do something else. Find a hobby. Like to me, PSA or protection sport.
Yeah.
That's my hobby. It's dog related, but I look forward to it. It breaks me away from having to teach sits and downs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you got into PSA. What inspired you to get into PSA?
In the beginning, actually, I didn't like PSA.
You didn't?
I did not like PSA. I told Jerry Bradshaw this.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
were having a conversation. I was like, I used to not like PSA at all.
Uh-huh.
Originally I wanted to. So to backtrack a little bit, part of my journey was I worked with working dogs.
Yeah.
I worked with. I spent 18 months in Afghanistan working with the explosive detection dogs, and these dogs also did bite work.
Yeah.
And then after that, I left that, and I sort of was taking a break from that, and then I started to notice I kind of miss that. I miss the badass, hard freaking dogs, right? I mean, working with pet dogs is great, but I wanted an outlet to do something like that. So that's where I started looking into sports. And originally I was looking at the other sports, very new to sports at the time. And PSA just looked too clownish to me at the time. It was like, what are they doing that for?
Yeah.
But what happened was I got this dog, and I was still looking at clubs. Clubs were not getting back to me. The local clubs, the local Schutzen clubs were not getting back to me. Mm-hmm. Right? No surprise there. And then I was okay. Maybe I need to start my own club.
Yeah.
And then I started looking into PSA, and I noticed PSA was the most welcoming sport out of all the sports that I had sort of explored.
Yeah.
It was easier to get resources, to get somebody to help you out. And then that's when I started to learn more about the sport. And then all these things that at first seemed clownish, I was like, oh no, that makes sense. There was a point to that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I started it.
Mm. And then how long you been training PSA? Do you have your own club, right? So how long has it been around?
I would say about 4 years.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
As far as your whole entire 12-year journey, what would you say has been some of your biggest mistakes and biggest learning lessons at the same time? I made some massive mistakes growing in this business, and they've just been educational that you can own. They've given me, some tools in my belt and some experience that can't be taught in school or anything else, like you have to go and experience these things. What would you say would be yours?
So actually, I do have I think a good answer for that. It wasn't any particular thing that I did. I've made a bunch of mistakes.
Yeah.
Right? But nothing jumps out like, that was such a big screw up. But what I noticed to me was, I got into dog training thinking this was going to be this really cool thing that I would do for the rest of my life. And at first it was like, I was very passionate about it, and I was really, and that's sort of when I started dog training as my passion, the social media brand, right? And now I was like, I was like really passionate. I was really into it. And what happened was, I became disappointed in other people's lack of passion. I became disappointed in that there were big names in the industry that were not as passionate as me. And I started to the passion started to kind of fade away. And I went through this phase where I was like, what if this is just not for me?
Yeah.
What if I just need to move on to something else? And then I kind of got a little depressed about it, and I thought, maybe this isn't for me. The passion is fading away. But then I thought to myself, and this is where the biggest lesson for me was as an adult, one of the biggest lessons as an adult. I noticed and I thought to myself, passion will always fade.
Yeah.
But purpose will last.
Yeah.
And that's when I thought, I'm at a point in my experience and my knowledge where if I leave and I go to another industry, I'm taking all this knowledge and experience with me, and it's just over and done with. But if I make it a purpose to improve this industry, right, and I shift my passion from a passion to a responsibility, that recharged me.
Yeah.
And that was like a big lesson that I got is, realizing that passion will only, it's like motivation, right? It will only last for a period of time. Eventually it's going to fade. And that's what happens with a lot of dog trainers I know. Yeah. They train for a few years and then they do something else. And I was noticing this is starting to happen to me too. And I thought passion will fade, but I need to make this a purpose. I need to pursue this. And now that's sort of my journey.
What's your purpose?
So what I want to do is everything that I do, right? Even down to like the videos and the podcast episodes that I make, I want to add value to the industry. Yeah. I want to add value to. I want to. I think I was telling you this before we started recording, but I want to leave something that will outlive me. I want to, down to the books. I know the books, right? These 4 books, and I got 2 more that I'm working on. But I know these books. Whatever happens to me, they're gonna be in the market. Yeah. These books are going to be there. I'm also. I'm working on an app. I'm developing an app at the moment, and that's one of those things that the purpose is to improve the industry, to do something better for the industry. And I have other ideas too that I'm kind of brainstorming, and where I'm going. I want to leave something that will be bigger than me. Yeah. Even if it's not like my own creation, but even if I contribute to it, I want to leave something. Sure. That will stay there.
I mean, that hit me in like 2016. When I always wanted to put out good products, right? But really, my mindset was like, I want to get rich off this. I want to make money. And then all of a sudden, I was like, you know what? Once I started getting some mentors, they kept asking me, what's your purpose? Like, what's the purpose behind this? I never had mentors growing up. I didn't go to college. No one taught me business. Everything I had to learn hands-on, right? And it wasn't until I was like, I want to eliminate dog obesity. Like, that's what I want to do. And once I found my purpose, I want to eliminate dog obesity. I want to help dog owners have the opportunity to extend their lives through nutrition, fitness, and education. And I'm not a dog trainer, but I'm going to build a huge list and network of resources of professional dog trainers that I respect, that I can always shoot out to them, which also brings value to the dog trainers, and build this platform to where let's make exercising your dog cool, convenient, and easy, and effective. And let's put out some amazing products, and let's start educating the community on how to read product labels and like stuff like that. And once I found that, you're right, man. Your passion all of a sudden is like you get this fire in you where you're like, okay, now I'm on to something. Yeah. Because money's a tool at the end of the day. It's just another tool, And
it comes and goes. It comes and goes, and it's just one of the reasons that I'm not too concerned about the whole money thing. Obviously I am, right? Yeah. We all like money.
Yeah, of course.
We want money.
And it's cool, man. Like we always talk about it all the time. Like people don't be embarrassed to want to go get money, man. Get the money, But
like, you got to look at it, like you said, it's a tool. It's meant to be spent, Yes. It's not meant to just sit there. Like if I have the resources, I'm going to invest it on something bigger than me, something that will contribute to whatever I'm pursuing. Yeah. Yeah. So
I mean, again, a lot of my network now, because I'm part of a couple different mentorship groups. One's called Arte, and the other one's called Apex. But Arte, man, like it's a bunch of 10-figure and 9-figure earners in there, right? And I want to get to that point, and it's crazy, like the amazing stuff they do for communities and other people and stuff like that. They invest, they take a lot of that money, man, and they do a lot of impactful things.
Yeah, and to me, like, that makes perfect sense, because it's all about building value, creating value. You know, it's not just I just want a lot of money. I just want to be the best dog trainer. Or I just want to do this. It's more like, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
That's sort of my perspective on life now, and it was thanks to that that mistake, I guess, where I thought I was going to be passionate about this my entire life, and no, it wasn't going to last. I needed to turn it into something. Yeah,
I mean, it seems like you accumulated a bunch of micro mistakes, and you didn't have no massive. Thank goodness you haven't had no big, macro mistakes. I made a lot of macro mistakes, right. but I also make the whole purpose is to stop making macro mistakes and get down to making micro mistakes. Because you're going to continue to make mistakes to get you that next level, because those are identifiers. Yeah, this is where my game is weak. Yeah. This is where I need to fill in those gaps. Yeah, and so let's talk about your handles, man. Where can people find you?
Oh, thank you. Well, if you go to dogtrainingismypassion.com, that's the website. You can connect to me directly by going to Dog Training is My Passion. I also have an online membership, so I upload videos. They're exclusive videos. They're not on YouTube. Yeah. They're how-to videos, so you can become a member for a low monthly fee there and see the behind the scenes.
What's the investment what's the monthly investment for that?
It's a little less than $10.
$10, guys. Come on.
Right?
You spent that on Starbucks today. I don't want to hear about it. Don't be messaging me asking me, how do I fix my dog? I'm not a dog trainer. Go to this guy's page.
So I have that. I also have the YouTube channel. So YouTube channel has got hundreds of videos. Probably.
Is it the same custom URL?
No, so if you go to YouTube and you look up Dog Training is My Passion, that's the channel, the YouTube channel. Yeah. For the brand, Dog Training is My Passion on YouTube, which again you can find on the website too. It'll show you how to get there. But those are free videos. There's also a lot of how-to videos on there that are free stuff. And obviously the books on Amazon. Yeah. If you look up William Garrido, you'll see my 4 books on there, and just sort of stay tuned with the app development. That's gonna maybe by the end of this year, 2022. Nice. It should hopefully be ready.
That's awesome, man. Good luck with all of that, man. And thank you, man, for taking time out of your schedule to come in and network with us. I mean, we're always trying to build our network, man. I can already tell by just how you talk and how your perspective in life that we're all gonna click very well, because it's all about bringing value. That's so important. And I think a lot of things that I got from this episode from you is that you ask yourself these good quality questions from a personal perspective. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people should do that. Trevor doesn't do it enough.
I do it for me and everybody else. Literally.
Yeah, Trevor, man, he's a human being enhancer is what I call him. They're like, what's Trevor do? I was like, man, he film shit, man, but he's a human being enhancer. He's gonna fucking call you out on every little thing and not give 2 shits. But people like me love that stuff, I love being around straight shooters, that's just who I am. But man, guys, thank you again. Thank you, Will, for coming up here, man. We'll have to do it again for sure, man. We'll definitely stay in touch for sure. Absolutely. Man. And
thank you so much, man.
Be sure to go check out Amazon, man. Will Garrido, he's got 4 amazing books. This latest one is Selecting the Right Dog Trainer, which I think this one's really important because, like Trevor said, man, it's becoming such a saturated market. Everybody and their mama now, it's like used to be in the days where everybody and their mama was a rapper, right? And now it's like everybody and their mama's a dog trainer, right? And the pet business has grown tremendously, right? Like it's
and customer service is key. Probably the best thing he said, which is why people love Amazon. You could be like, Amazon, it'd be something you bought $3,000. It doesn't work. They'll just send you the next one. Like, fuck it, we'll take the loss, but we're gaining you as a customer. So when people are through social media making things look good, that's sometimes all it is something that looks good. And patience is key when you're dealing with dogs and human beings, to say the least.
Yeah. So, man, thank you guys for listening and tuning in for this episode. If you guys found any value or any golden nuggets, man, do us a solid. just don't give us a review. Share this, man. Tell your friends about us. If they have dogs, make sure they listen to this episode, because Will's going to be someone that they want to keep in their network, and go check out his stuff. He gives away a ton of free value and information for absolutely free. And so if you can't find answers there, man, I'm sure you can reach out to him. He has an exclusive video network that you can also subscribe to as well. It's less than $10 a month to invest. You spend that probably on Starbucks every day. So, you got the money, man. It's how much you want to fix your dog is going to be the real question. But thank you again, as always, man. Team X Dog Strong. Man, that was a great episode, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Sorry for the coffee fit. Of course, now I'm fine.
It's all good. It is all good. Did you bring any dogs?
Yeah, I just got them with me because we got a lot of dogs, and I was going to leave my wife for the dogs. So I was like, I'll bring my 2.
Yeah.
And
how many dogs do you have in general, like at the house?
We have, between my wife and I, we have 6 personal dogs.
She trains dogs as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so it works out.
Now that's the business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Having somebody to literally get up and work with the dogs as well.
Yeah. She helps. She's very helpful. So she helps with a lot of, especially the bite work. She also is involved in PSA.
Oh, okay. How many members you got in your club?
We got off the top of my head, maybe about 10 to 15.
Oh wow.
And
it's a decent sized club right there.
Yeah, we're there. We have to split it. So we're at a point where the young dogs have their